I want to take a couple of seconds to give you the background for Lab number 1, redesigning a bad user experience and interface. As some of you might know, my daughter is a student at Monterey Bay, Cal State Monterey Bay. And one of the systems that we use to pay tuition and other fees is an ERP and student information portal called Oasis. And in this particular instance, you see a screen capture of the screen. And when you log into Oasis, you're immediately taken to an overview screen. And I pop back to the first frame so you can see it. And what you will see immediately is a notifications dialog window that pops up that gives you some notifications that they think are relevant. This is a good example of a constraint that we talked about in the video lecture, in that this dialog actually covers up the make a payment button in the most immediate call to action on the page. And so you you have to click this button to make a payment. Now, when you look at this screen, after you kill the dialog, you're shown even more. It shows under General Account Payment a total for $2,922.60. It's this information and this immediate call to action that got us in trouble two times this last semester with CSU MB, and we ended up overpaying on installments that are normally spread out over the entire semester. And so when you see this overview screen, this button, make a payment, is the call to action. And generally, everything else, like this information, is actually below the page fold. In fact, they've done some slight modifications to the screen to move this up. But either way, this make a payment button will still cue most users. Again, when we're thinking about words, right? It prompts the user to act on the words that the user sees in the interface, and click make a payment button, because after all, I want to pay my daughter's housing fees. And so you click that button and it takes you to the general account payment screen, and it shows a total of the remaining amount for what should be two installments. And if you paying here overcharges the user for the installment and does not show the default reason for the payment. It doesn't tell you anything. And in fact, what I first thought when I saw this is maybe for some reason we're not eligible for the installment payments. Maybe we forgot something, like we had to fill out some paperwork to say that we needed to spread the payments out or something like that. That turns out to be wrong. We simply clicked the wrong button because of the call to action. What should happen is that a user, under almost every situation, should go to one of these three areas: either student account payments, which they use to pay a fee for a specific thing, which really doesn't make any sense because there are a variety of account payments, or go to housing and meal plans and related fees for anything related to the dorms. And of course, the graduation application is self-explanatory. So these available items show as cards. Now, if a person resists clicking the make a payment button initially, they could browse through each of these cards, but you're taken even even deeper down a rabbit hole. So if we follow the correct path and we click on housing and meal plans, then we're taken back to this screen where again it shows the general payment account. It sets the default to 0 and the maximum is $1 million. Imagine I was paying the college $1 million. It feels like it when I just make a few $1,000 payment. It shows the general account balance, which still perplexes me because what is general account balance? But it does show this, the first installment for the spring housing payment, which I'm sorry, the second installment, which is 1411, and the third installment is $1,511.60, which, if you do the math, totals $22.99. Now, if you're paying in the installment system, I have no idea why this even shows. But from here, if you click the edit details or further down, there's a button to pay. Then you're taken. Then this little sidebar panel pops out and shows the amount that's due, right? And or let me strike that. You're actually diverted back to this main screen where you see the housing payments broken down. You click on housing payments for the spring. This little dialog pops out, shows the amount due for the particular installment at that time, where you can then proceed to add your payment and then pay now. And after all of that, you're done. And so if I did everything correctly, when I get to this screen, I would have to click the housing, meals, and related fees, and then follow through with the transaction. My challenge for you is to redesign the process. And I'll provide you with some screen captures that you can use to um, uh, import into Figma or XD if you want to do that. Or you can just, ideally just do it with a wireframe, which is what I would prefer. Like a wire flow might work well. And the method in my madness here is to see what approach you use based on what you've already learned in other classes like GDS070 or GDS072 or your prior experience with Adobe XD, Balsamic, Illustrator, Photoshop, Figma, whatever tool you use. But what I want to see is what changes you would make in the flow so that it would make sense for the users. Now, I'm going to give you a week to do this, but we may need to extend it a little bit. But this is our first exercise. You might feel a little uncomfortable doing it, and that's normal, especially if you're new to wireframing or using a prototyping software. We will cover some of the prototyping software throughout the semester, like XD and Figma, but I just want to get a benchmark for where we are as a class. If you have any questions, post your questions to the questions forum.